I'm Dawn Goldberg with WritingFromYourSoul.com. For several years now, I've been calling myself a creativity and writing coach. Is that because I'm artistic and I paint masterpieces and I teach other people how to paint? Oh no. I do a little bit of painting, but it's right now on the verge of, finger painting and watercolors on a very basic level. No. I call myself a creativity and writing coach really for two reasons. First, because creativity is a huge part of the writing process. Because first, you have to play with your idea, brainstorm, idea generate, before you can ever start putting it to words. And then secondly, that brainstorming, playing with your idea, can really depend on how you process the world. For example, if you think back to how you were taught to write in school, more than likely, you were taught to logically present your ideas in the form of a Roman numeral outline. Now, if you're very logical and linear, and you process the world that way, then you probably took to that like a dog to a bone. But if you are not logical linear, and there's nothing wrong with you if you're not, and you just can't understand how a Roman numeral outline works or how to even put ideas into one, then writing actually might have been really hard for you. There are so many other ways that you can play with that idea, to brainstorm, to idea generate. And again, it has a lot to do with how you process the world. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's take me for example. I process the world through the written word. Probably not a big surprise since I'm all about writing. What that looks like for me is I have to see the words. So if I'm introduced to someone, like say Mark, I actually see the letters M-A-R-K. I don't see his face, I see those letters, I see those words. And so when I go through the world, I'm actually trying to convert everything in the world to the written word, whether that's in my head or on paper. Other people might be very audially oriented, musical rhythmic. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're amazing pianists or trumpet players or can read sheet music. What it means is that they hear patterns. They hear patterns and they are very focused on the world around them from an audio nature. Then there is visual. It's really what you see. When I think of this type of person who processes the world that way, I think of someone like an interior designer who says, oh my gosh, I can see if you put a painting there and the couch here and you paint this blue. And she can see all that because she's very visual. And then there are things like kinesthetic, which is moving around. You process the world and you need to move. And especially if you've ever been a teacher and you've had those kids who can't seem to sit still or stay in their seats, it's probably because they need to be moving in order to process the world. And then there's interpersonal, which is connecting with other people and probably talking with them, processing with them, feeding off the energy, and that's how they process the world. And then you have intrapersonal, which is the opposite. It's very singular, very individual. You go inward more. These people probably journal a lot. They're very self-reflective because that's how they process the world. So you have all of these ways to process the world, and each of us has those 3 or 4 or so that we're stronger in. Again, I'm very verbal linguistic. Next for me is probably visual, and then actually logical mathematical. Way down on the list is going to be that audio, that musical rhythmic, because I just can't process as well through my ears. So now that we've talked a little bit about those different ways to process the world, what do you do with it? Well, I'd like to invite you to check out the Ready, Set, Write from Your Soul toolbox. It has over 50 strategies, all categorized amidst those different ways to process the world full descriptions, examples. There are worksheets and tools to accompany some of them, the ones that make sense anyway. And along with this 100 plus page manual, you also get almost 5 hours of audios from the live class that I taught that goes along with the manual. So for all of that, you have this rich resource that you can use at any time. And I'm telling you, this doesn't leave my side. I've had my clients and students and people who have purchased their own copy of the manual say it's dog-eared from use. And it really is just a rich treasure trove of different ways to play with your idea that goes way beyond the Roman numeral outline. So play, create, brainstorm, and really get that message out into the most powerful words that you can, with a little bit of help from me.